Today we're breaking down one of the most popular styles right now, the men's perm and taper. But here's a twist, I'm going to break it down step by step using both scissor and clipper over comb techniques, plus I'm using the brand new JRL Lamborghini clipper and trimmer set. Let's see if these clippers really live up to the hype. This is Master the Cut. Please like, share and subscribe to all of the socials. As always, I start by gowning up my client in my insight gown. I appreciate Yash being my model for today. So starting with the mini trimmers, I'm putting in my zero line. As you can tell, I'm using features on the ear and putting it in line with the eye. This helps keep it symmetrical on both sides. So I've grabbed my big clipper, pushed down on the lever, which creates a 0.5, and now I'm going up about half an inch and trying to fade in. This is the first step process after putting in my zero line. Working with the 0.5 and the grain of the hair until I feel I can move on to the next step, I now close the lever on the big clipper. This will help blend out that zero line I put in with my mini trimmers earlier, making sure that I'm really working on that line to get out any dark areas, and while I'm here I'm just chipping into the beard. I've picked up now my foils. These are my white ones from JRL. Using the foils is really beneficial for your client because it gives them a couple of extra days growth. But for us, it really helps the taper pop at the end. Now, because it takes it so short in that area, I've had to pick up my JRL minis and I'm just chipping away at any lines created with the foils. I'm using the edges to reduce the lines or any shadowing you might see. Using the foils really helps the whole haircut shine at the end. I'll flip the mini trimmer around just to see if I can catch any more of that grain at the very bottom. I've grabbed a clip just so I can push the hair out of the way and give us a clearer line onto where we're working. I'm now outlining the hair using the corner of my mini trimmer, just working around and pushing up to the natural hairline. Getting this will really help the whole haircut stand out, and it's a vital part of the taper. I've flipped the mini trimmer around just so I can push into the natural hairline. Flipping from one side to the other on the mini trimmer really does help. I've attached my 0.5 guard, pushed down on the lever. This will help me blend the taper a little bit higher into the long hair at the top. I'm working through the levels on the lever just to reduce any weighted areas or any areas that are a bit darker. Edging around the ear helps me clean up the taper to see what else is left to do. Now I've picked up my taper comb and I'm going to soften the short hair into the long hair by doing some clipper over comb work. When doing clipper over comb, make sure everything is in and out with your motion, as you can see here on the clipper. Start with the big end and then use the small end if needed. After completing the right hand side of the head, we're now moving over to the left. I've sped the video up in this section just so you can see that we're doing the same process each side. It's a step-by-step guide. Once you get this, you'll be able to complete a taper on any client you have in your seat. At this point in the video, I'm going to ask you guys, if you like this content, please make sure you're subscribed to the channel. By hitting that subscribe button really helps us build the community here at Hotheads Media. It allows me to continue dropping haircut tutorials, exclusive content and more. We've been gaining a lot of traction across our socials. We're on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. Make sure you go drop us a like and a follow if you haven't already. We're nearly at that 1,000 subscriber mark here on our YouTube channel. That's a real milestone for me, and I just want to say thank you to the community as a whole for supporting the channel. And if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you've noticed, I've just been slowing down certain segments on this side of the taper. These are the most important bits to get you that real clean look that you're after. I would say these bits are probably the most technical bits throughout the taper, so I just felt slowing the video down would help the viewers understand a little bit more into what I'm saying and how to visually understand these techniques. By continuing to do the step-by-step process, the taper is really coming together on both sides. Now we're moving on to the back. We start always with putting our zero line in at the very bottom, making sure we're working with the natural hair growth. That's why I've flipped my trimmer around and I'm working down rather than going up. I will also turn my clipper around to go up just to make sure I catch all the hairs on the grain. As I want the back to pop just as much as the sides, I pick up my foils and I'm working against the grain. I'm using a circular motion to make sure I get all the little hairs. This will also give my client a few extra days of regrowth, plus it makes the taper pop. Grabbing my clippers in the same step, I push my lever down to create a 0.5, working out that line that we just created. You can see there's a much larger area to work on at the back rather than the sides, so I need to make sure I go from side to side, working out the line and working on the grain as necessary. I'm using the edge, not just all of the blade, to work out that line. I'm going to flip my clipper around. This will help me work against the grain. He's got a really strong growth pattern at the back of his head, so by doing this technique rather than just working up will help me get that cleaner taper that I'm looking for. Pushing the lever up to create a 0, I'm now working on that bottom line using not just the full blade but the edge of the blade just to help reduce any weight that I see fit. Using this technique will really help you in tricky areas around the back of the head, especially if the growth is stubborn, and flipping the clip around in tricky or stubborn areas will help get you again that cleaner taper you're looking for. Instead of just flicking up and out, I'm using circular motions to help reduce the lines. Now picked up my mini trimmer just to refine further. This will really help give you the detailed clean look you're looking for. Again, remember to flick your trimmer around to work on them stubborn or tricky areas. Now sticking to the step-by-step process, you guessed it, we're putting on the 0.5 guard, starting with the lever down and working up through the levels on the lever just to make sure we're easily blending the shorter hair into the longer hair. Use different motions when you're using the clipper, like circular motions and the standard flick up and out. This is really good having various methods when you're working from straight hair and when you're working on curly hair like this one in the video. Understanding different methods and ways to use your clipper will really help excel your barbering career or level up your skill set to take it to your clients back home in the shop. Finally, we'll finish off with some clipper over comb. You can see on this bit I'm using the smaller end rather than the bigger end first. This is because I want to really get in depth with them details and really refine the bottom bits of the taper before I go up. You can see now I'm pushing down into the mini trimmer. Again, this is another method or technique that you could use to really help show off your taper. After working across the head, really refining the taper from left to right, I'm now going to line up each side to really show off the taper. I'm now going to reach for my thinners. These are great, these are from Leaf and they really stand out because they're pink. They might not be everybody's preferred colour, but they look great on video and they're a really well made scissor, and the brand is very sustainable and eco-friendly. They plant a tree for every pair of scissors that you buy. I've now ditched the comb and I'm just working on the areas where I see a really weighty still or not 100% blended as I would like. I'm now putting the back of the blade onto the head and I'm not closing fully, just slightly chipping away at the darker areas to reduce the weight and to help blend the shorter hair into the longer hair. And boom, we're nearly here, just cleaning up my client, making sure all the hair's off, and this is the final look. Yash was really happy with this. I think this taper came out great. Please like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.